I would never start another ABA practice without these 4 handbooks.
Back in the 90s, I was working for a family, and the family was paying me as a contractor. The IRS, even back in the late 90s, were telling this family, you have to hire this person as an employee. They are not a contractor.
We went on a vacation for the first time in 4 years after we started the business. I think it was the first night. We had an employment issue. We didn't have an attorney. Well, we should have been relaxing and chilling. We were Google searching attorneys to try and resolve an employment issue.
Hello, everyone. We're going to tell you what not to do.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. We're going to talk about the common mistakes made when starting and running an ABA practice.
Yeah, and this is kind of a judgment-free zone. Because
this is a judgment-free zone.
I mean, it may come off judgy, and
that's not our intention.
It may come off judgy. And I will say most of this list that we're going to go over, we didn't do when we started, which is why we know you should do it. So, I guess we can talk about some of the issues that we had when we go through the list.
Right. Well, you shouldn't do it.
I don't know what I said.
Oh, good. So today we're going to talk about what not to do when starting your ABA business. And
don't do that.
As Stephen said, it is, a lot of these things we made the mistake of doing or not doing.
No, we did them. We
shouldn't have done them when we started out. And I mean, there's a lot of, there are a lot of things that are going into play when you're starting a business.
Sure.
No matter what kind of business you're starting, right? And most of the time, it's a new experience. Mm-hmm. And so there's a learning curve, right? And so, but especially with a business such as this, there's that hiring people and getting clients and getting contracted through insurance and making the money, right? Most small ABA practices don't start out with
a trust fund.
A lump sum of money just to get them going. And that's one of the beauties of it in a way, is being able to start out with in-home services. So you don't have as much overhead cost. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people do start in home, even if their goals are to have a clinic just to kind of get things going, even if they're just starting out as a solo BCBA, getting things going and maybe hiring a tech or two. But regardless, there are a lot of things that you need to take into consideration that you should do.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to even add a bonus point on here. You keep that one secret till the end. Then I don't even know what it is. So like you were saying, people, they're excited to start. We were excited to start. It can be overwhelming. You don't know what you don't know. We hear that all the time. Something else that we hear all the time is, well, that's how they did it at my last ABA company. Why wouldn't I do it that way? Right.
Yep.
Just because they're doing something that doesn't follow the law or is unethical, you probably shouldn't do that. So again, while I may come off judgy, I probably am a little bit, not going to lie. This is a judgment-free zone. And when you learn something new, you do better, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And part of our mission and our values and who we are, meeting you where you're at. Yeah. And so whether that be a course that we're offering or collaboration or consulting or whatever, however you reach out to us and we're helping you in your journey, that's all we ask is just come as you are. No need to cancel or not show up or whatever because you haven't done all the homework and you don't have all the perfect answers yet. That's why we're here. We're here to help you get to that point. And sometimes you just need someone to hold your hand or just to be there with you. And let's look that up together. Let's fill that form out together. So we so get where you are right now. Even if you're not brand new, sometimes that's that. Those growth steps, right, can be tricky. Or you did something one way when you're smaller, and you are realizing that wasn't the best way of doing it. And so now it's time to change it. And then that can be kind of overwhelming, and I consider myself a reformed perfectionist. Some days I question that, but, I don't want any of this to keep anyone from not getting started, because to get started, you just have to take that first step and you just have to do it. And you are going to make mistakes.
Yep.
But our hope here is that we can give you some information, easy to like digest and take with you information to help you to not make some of the
Make less mistakes.
Yeah, to make less mistakes, but not make some of the, mistakes that we've made and that we've seen a lot of people make. Like the most commonly made mistakes in our opinion from what we've seen. Yep. So, let's get started on it. All right. So the first one, don't do that. Don't hire contractors. Don't hire contractors. Don't do it.
Yeah.
I feel like we need a big X across the screen.
And maybe they'll do it in post-production, because I was going to ask like a big stamp that says don't do that, right? Like in some goofy voice, but we'll see what happens. All right. So just the whole contractor thing, I don't want to come off as though I'm tired of talking about this, but I'm a little tired of talking about this. Like it's just and again, don't take Facebook's word for it. Don't take my word for it. Get legal advice, and that's one of the next points. But talk to an attorney in your area, explain what is going on. But as far, we probably talking to 15 attorneys about this very thing, multiple states. And when we describe the situation, they always say the same thing. You can't do that. Don't do that. So the biggest one, and there are many, and we have a podcast on this point specifically, but this is just quick. Key aspects of the business are performed by that person. And with a BCBA, I don't know of anything more key than that. The pushback I have gotten on that is, well, I'm just hiring another person. I'm the key person. They're not. That's not how it works. They are still providing a key service. And if you've got 5 clients and they've got 10 and they quit, who's going to do that? Is anybody going to do the assessments? Is anybody going to do the parent training?
Well, to even make it more clear, let's say you have 5 BCBAs underneath you, and they each have 10 clients, and you have 5, and all 5 of those BCBAs are sick or quit on the same day. What are you going to do with those 50 clients? Right. You can't take them.
No.
You might be able to take 10.
Some of them.
You might be from if you just had 1 BCBA. Yeah. So I could see where you can make that, but really think about the full impact of it.
Yes. So they are and again, you can leave a comment and tell me I'm terribly wrong, but and that's fine. We have also witnessed, and we've been there when other ABA companies, they were disgruntled employee said, I was fired and I want my unemployment. And the state says, well, hold on, you're a contractor. And then they say, no, I'm not. And they dispute it. We have seen it. There are people that this has happened to, back taxes, penalties, fees. It can happen. So I highly recommend that you make your BCBAs employees, please. And then the other thing are tax. The board has already come out with a letter saying RBTs can't be independent contractors. The fact that you have to supervise them disqualifies them, period.
100%.
So,
and that's a complete ethical, you as a practicing BCBA should know all guidelines and ethics and updates that's your responsibility. And they have so nicely presented that to us in a very black and white, not to do it.
And then the pushback I've gotten on that is, well, hold on, I just won't hire RBTs. Okay, come on now, please. You're still supervising the staff, and that's one of the bullet points on the IRS's website about contractor versus employee. Do you have to supervise the staff? They're not an independent contractor. They're not. They're not doing anything independent. And you are supervising them. You're the fact that you would be doing protocol modification means that you're supervising this person. You're changing the program. You're taking IOA data, right? Come on.
When back in the 90s, yes, the late 90s, before RBT existed, and I was I don't even know, I was a therapist, ABA therapist, I think that's what I would line therapist. And I was working for a family who had like hired a consultant from across the country to come in and do the things. And the family was paying me. And the family was paying me as a contractor. The IRS came back to this family, or their accountant or somebody, I don't remember the entire story, but even back in the late 90s, the IRS professionals were telling this family, you have to hire this person as an employee. They are not a contractor. So, it's less about ABA and more about the IRS and how they define it. So go to the IRS website, look at the list yourself. And go from there. But our recommendation stands that BCBAs definitely should be employees. So along with each one of these don't do that points, we've these are things that we've seen mistakes happen, mistakes we've made ourselves. And part of it are frequently asked questions that we get. So we've kind of already gone over it, but we will sum this up with one of our most frequently asked questions are why pick employees over contractors? So
check the IRS's website. If they're performing key aspects of the business, they are an employee, not a contractor. If you have to supervise them, they are not a contractor. The other thing that I see very often is that the BCBA will get hired as an independent contractor, but there is no contract. They are an employee. And then the last thing I hear often, they're only getting a few hours a week. That makes them a part-time employee, not a contractor. It doesn't matter how many hours you're getting a week. They are an employee, not a contractor.
They are performing a key aspect of the business.
Yes. Yeah.
And to restate, the board's already helped us out on clarifying RBT. RBT should never be contractors.
Correct.
The end.
It's not the end.
I know. But we're going to continue to spread this message.
and I will say, seriously though, if you all have some justification as to why you think that this isn't right, that we're wrong, and you know what, I'm wrong often, just put a comment. I would really honestly like to hear it, because I was talking to someone last week and they said their attorney said no, they could totally be contractors. And my thought was either this wasn't explained to them to the degree that they needed, or you need to talk to a different attorney. That was my response to that, because like I said, when we have clearly laid out the job descriptions and what is going to take place and how the job is performed, any attorney I've spoken to said that doesn't sound like a contractor to me. So,
well, there is an exception. We did hire a BCBA as a contractor. And so as a BCABA, which I am, and was clinical director and co-owner of our agency, I could not hire I could not have any of my BCBA staff be my supervisor. That's also here's another bonus. Don't do that.
Right.
But we did hire my supervisor, my BCBA supervisor, and we contracted that service with her. We had we did it on a yearly basis, a yearly contract. We would renew it as needed. And
independent contractors have a limited scope. It's in the contract. How the contract can be terminated before the contract is up is in the contract. So oversight of your agency by an outside independent would be a BCBA would be a contract. You would want that as a contractor. I think that's a great idea. Yeah. Even if you don't need, even if it's not your scenario, but that is
a special, you're reaching out to another BCBA for a special
training, whatever it may be. Yeah, that may be an independent contractor, or it may just be a service, right? But where you're paying for a service, crisis management training, or I don't know, ACT or something like that.
Right. Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
All right, we ready for the next one?
We spent way too much time on them.
I mean, how could you not? Okay, so don't start without legal advice.
Yep. And this doesn't matter what business, right? This is independent of the business, but you need legal advice. I would recommend independent legal advice. So I do hear this sometimes, and it may be fine, but like, I don't know, like, oh, my brother's uncle, he's or my best friend,
your uncle.
yes, my best friend's brother's uncle, he's an attorney. I think we're going to use him. Like, and that, I don't recommend using family friends in this, because we did that anyway. I'm not getting into that. So I would recommend somebody outside of your circle for the most part.
Yeah, again, just unbiased, or it's as much as you can, completely neutral.
And I get also that maybe you do have a family attorney and they're going to do it for free or on the cheap. I totally get that. But I would recommend as soon as you can to have like an independent third party person. And same with an accountant. Like, this could be almost like a mentor. You may want to talk about things that you don't want your family knowing about, right? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, that's everyone's decision to make.
Yeah.
That is our recommendation, to have an independent, neutral party.
So Legal Shield is super cheap. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go for it.
No, Legal Shield is super cheap. We have no reason to refer them. We don't have like an affiliate program with them or anything, but we use them in the past. We should have it, but like I think it's like $60 a month. And if I'm wrong, well, oh well. Like, but it is pretty cheap to get them. You'll get an attorney in your state, and they should be able to litigate for you, but talk to them first.
That's a good place to start, right? While you're getting your footing and stuff. So why do I need legal advice before starting?
Well, I can give you our story, the story that I tell everybody, but like, we went on a vacation for the first time in 4 years after we started the business or something like that. It was a long time. And on that, I think it was the first night, we had an employment issue. We didn't have an attorney. So that night, I think it was Sunday night, while we should have been like relaxing and chilling, we were Google searching attorneys to try and resolve an employment issue. Don't do that. Like, don't put yourself through that. So I would highly recommend interviewing these people ahead of time right now, while things, especially if you're in the credentialing process. It's a great time because it's going to get really busy after the credentialing process is over. So I would highly recommend finding that legal advice now. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the biggest thing. And many people ask me, well, what kind of attorney should I get? And there are many different types of attorneys, but like starting out with an employment attorney, they don't have to have ABA experience. While that could be very helpful, even if they have some kind of in-home healthcare understanding, that can be a benefit. But I will tell you, like, the biggest thing for me is that when you email this attorney or you call this attorney, that they respond to you in a manner that you would like to be responded to, right? Like, I don't personally like when I'm calling someone up for help and I feel like I was a bother or that was a stupid question, right? And like, why didn't you know that? Well, that's why I'm paying you, because I don't know this, right? So like, if it seems condescending or if it seems like you're an annoyance every time you call, that's probably not your attorney. So that
goes biggest for any specialty, anyone that you reach out to. Mm-hmm. So
So that's kind of my starting point with an attorney.
Okay. All right. Anything else about that you want to say?
No, I think that really covers it.
All right. Next, that takes us to our next question, or our next don't do that. So don't start without a budget.
Yeah. So this is one that people often fail to do. Yeah, totally. And yeah, I mean,
for those of you listening, I was just raising my hands, guilty as charged.
So like you need the main reason why you want to do it. Well, there are two main reasons why you want to do it, but the biggest is so that what the low end of the rates are going to be when you get your contracts in place. That's probably the biggest reason. But it's also so that you can see how much money you need to make. So like, do you have a mortgage that you have to pay for? Many people, when they start their practice, they're not making as much as they were as like a regular PCBA working for someone. So how much money am I going to make with 10 clients, 2 RBT, right? Like how much, or 3 or 4 RBTs, how much money am I going to make with this? How much am I going to be paying out in payroll? Something that you'll probably find out as you do this, about 85 to 90% of your expenses are going to be payroll driven, right? So this is wages, workers' comp, professional liability is tied to how many staff you have. Training is directly tied to how much staff you have. Insurance, all of this stuff is pretty much directly tied to the number of staff you have. Practice management is basically linked to the number of staff or clients that you have. So this is all going to be pretty dependent on the number of staff you have, unless you're starting a clinic, and that may be a little different, but it's still going to be the vast majority of your expenses is going to be payroll and staff related expenditures. So knowing how much am I going to pay my staff is really important, especially when you're looking at direct service rates. Can you afford to take these rates based on the wages that you're paying out?
Well, I mean, and then too, you have to look at credentialing, right? Because when you're first starting out, you've got that 3 to 6 month window. And then also anytime you're hiring a new BCBA, you're going to have that, am I able to hire them and get them working on non-billable stuff, a couple of months while we wait? Or am I going to lose this BCBA because they're going to go down the road where they can start getting billables quicker or whatever, right? Or getting paid quicker. So
that's a different story. If you need help with that, we have some good strategies to hire BCBAs and how to make this a little less painful on the expenses side. But that's a different story for another day.
Definitely. All right. So.
And then the last thing. Then the other piece of this is the rate negotiation part of it. So you're going to use this budget to find out, again, that low end of what you need. And then you're going to use this budget as part of your rate negotiation process. And you really want to project this out a number of years, right? And so looking at cost of living increases, inflation, apparently it's great now, but okay, sure. It seemed pretty terrible to me. So, just these things, okay, these rates are, I think I can make it right now with these rates. Can you make it with these rates in 5 years? So if the answer to that is no, you need to rate negotiate right now. And again, what we did is we didn't do any of that. It was here are the rates. What do you think? Oh, I guess this is good. And then you sign the contract, right? Don't do that, because that's what we did. That was all. You can't do that. And so if more of us did what we're recommending here, we would all benefit, because we would all probably have better rates, because just too many of us included, will just sign a contract, because what else are you supposed to do with the contract? You sign it. And so that is causing us all to get lower rates than we can manage. And that we deserve. So if you get a contract, you've done your budget, and you're like, man, no, this is too low. I know what my cutoff rate is. I know what my lower limit is based on all the expenses I have. I can't accept these rates. Don't accept them. All right, I recommend rate negotiating with any funder anyway, but especially if these rates are not acceptable, you definitely need to rate negotiate.
How do I make a budget for my practice?
Join the ABA Business Leaders membership. So we have a custom budget, but it's just, it goes into the typical expenses that an ABA practice has. You can put in your custom funder rates, your wages. It calculates it for you and tells you how much profit you're going to make on a monthly basis. So that's definitely something that you want to do. And an accountant may be able to help with that. Some do, some don't. But that may be a question that you want to ask your accountant. Do they help with that? So just getting all of your expenses listed out. Again, most of this is going to be tied to wages, but practice management. Do you have a Microsoft 365 or a Google Work account? I don't know what it's called anymore. You're probably going to have trainings that you need to pay for, like CPR, first aid, crisis management, mandated reporter, HIPAA, right? So just listing out all those trainings. Onboarding staff can be very expensive anyway. Are you paying for the RBT training? Are you going to pay for their time to do that? required training. We're not talking about that today, but like these are the things that you just want to list out. I don't know if I already said it, but professional liability insurance, general liability insurance, non-owned auto insurance. So all of those insurances, pay time off, right? So just listing out all of your expenses and then doing some kind of estimate on how many clients you're going to have, the number of hours you're going to have. So protocol modification, parent training, assessment, and listing that all out, and then trying to come up with some kind of a monthly projection based on that. And that's what our budget does, right? It's like budget for people that don't know how to budget, which is me. And it can be very helpful. And like I said, then you can use that as part of your rate negotiation process.
All right. So the next don't do that. We're backing up and doing the one I skipped. So don't start without an accountant. I mean, you can kind of ditto the legal advice, right? It's definitely important.
Again, like
to have an idea of what you're getting into and how to manage your money and what choices to make in the beginning, and knowing how to make those decisions of even should I start now, or do I need to work another year and save some more, or, Yeah.
And I mean, we recommend Margin Keepers. Not that this is meant to be an ad, but they're awesome. You may want to check them out, marginkeepers.com. But
they are an affiliate with us, and they are very
ABA focused. Yes. But like what an accountant can help with is like local business law. So like many states require that you pay business on the county level. May find out that, especially with in-home, if you're working in multiple counties, you may have to pay taxes in those counties. It just depends. So that's something that an accountant can help with. What business licenses you need, an accountant can typically help with that. And things like, helping you set up your payroll. If they're taking on payroll, they're going to know how often you have to pay payroll starting out, and maybe quarterly, but as your payroll explodes, because it will, you may have to decrease that to monthly or even bi-weekly, depending on, every state does this different. So like just having them do that, and then bookkeeping. So like you have to do bookkeeping is really important. Like you're eventually going to want to sell this, I assume. And so having your books in good working order is going to make this process so much easier. So starting off with this right out the gate is really important, in my opinion. And, a lot of people do this. This one is the big one that I hear about all the time, is like, I didn't really like, again, because you're growing really quickly. Once you get your contracts, right, you may hire a lot of staff really quickly because you got a whole bunch of cases, and then you don't realize how much payroll taxes are going to be coming out at the end of the quarter. Mm-hmm. And but I already spent that money, right?
Right. Isn't there like depending on how often you file your payroll taxes, right, depends on how much you're making. There's a lot of rules that you might not know unless you already have a rich background in accounting.
Right. But like a lot of people just because they're not at that range yet where they have to pay it more often. So they're paying it every quarter. And then at the end of the quarter, they realize, wow, I've got a $20,000 payroll tax bill I did not expect. And so again, an accountant is going to be able to help you as you're bookkeeping, right? Every week or every month. They're going to say, hold on, now you need to put away some of this money because you're going to have a big old tax bill at the end of the month, right? So, or the end of the quarter or whatever. Again, that's just, yeah.
Well, I mean, even Sam from Margin Keepers was giving advice during his podcast with us about, the startups, right? Even in the very beginning, making sure you have dedicated accounts. And when the initial startup costs, you can kind of bundle them as a startup and then you go from there. But as soon as possible, you get those business accounts.
You really
you move from the spreadsheets to QuickBooks or something like that. And there's a lot of very specific pieces of advice that an accountant can help you with.
Yeah.
But before you make too many of the mistakes, right? So that you get a firm foundation.
Yes. And it's way easier to set it up right than it is to go back and have to redo it. So getting a bank account, a business credit card, all of those things.
Yeah.
An accountant's just going to be able to help you with that. Hopefully they'll be able to help you forecast, right? And let you know, when can I start growing? At what point can I start thinking about hiring another BCBA, or at what point can I start thinking about opening up a clinic, things like this. Even many accountants help with 401k and financial planning for the entire company. So all of these things, again, is super helpful and similar to an attorney. How do I pick one? Again, it shouldn't seem like you're wasting their time when you ask a question. It shouldn't take 5 months for them to answer a question. And again, they don't have to have ABA experience, but I will say when we talk to Sam and Joanna at Margin Keepers, they just know it, right? They just know, yeah, we know the delay in payment. They know all the codes. And so it can be very helpful to have someone that talks your language. So, yeah.
Also, to recap and also go over a frequently asked question, how does an accountant help my ABA practice?
So they're going to help you set up your business taxes correctly, whether that's local county taxes or that's payroll taxes. They're going to be able to help you project out how much income tax you're going to have to pay. Probably going to help you figure out what kind of corp you should have. Should I get an S corp? Should I get a partnership? Things like that. So these are things that they're going to be able to help you out with right from the get-go.
All right. So the next thing is don't start without documents.
Yeah. Don't wing this. There's just too many risks associated with starting a practice that you just don't want to find yourself in. HIPAA, state privacy laws, employment law, funder requirements. It's just really important that you have all of these things done and have it set up with a good foundation when you start. We didn't do that. When we started, it was I guess we get this stuff filled out, but we just didn't know what we didn't know.
Well, I think one of the first intake packets we used was a mix between stuff we found online, stuff that we had from our own kids, pediatrician intake, or I don't know, we were just okay, I think this works. I think this, not sure. And then we started to get curious and ask questions of are these questions even okay to ask? Because of course we know now questions are okay to ask and how to ask them and what information is needed and stuff like that. But in the beginning, we weren't sure and we weren't asking all the right questions. We weren't getting all the information that was needed. And not just from clients, but employees. It's really essential documents form that backbone.
Yeah.
And they offer clarity and clear expectations, and then they protect you.
Yeah, I mean, even as
done
simple,
correctly.
even as simple as when can I do a background check on a new hire? Right? Do they have to fill out a new client or a new employee application, or do I have to have a signed offer letter? Just something like that. It seems so simple, but it could get you into a whole lot of trouble right off the bat. And again, when you're small, you just, a lot of people will think, well, I don't need all this stuff, do I? You kind of do. And the issue is not, and we talk about this in many different podcasts, but the issue is that when you're small, you may be able to micromanage your way out of these issues. But as soon as you start growing, right, and you've got 10, 15, 20 employees, there's no micromanaging this anymore. You just don't have the ability to control it as much as you would like to, at least from my side of things, because I'm quite a control freak. And so having these policies and procedures and systems in place are going to reduce that risk. So you don't have to remember every step, right?
Right. I was going to say something and I was trying not to interrupt you and I left. Yeah. I'm sure I'll come back up again and I'll bring it up. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to say on that before we ask the
only other thing is it does give you a sense of comfort and confidence that you wouldn't necessarily have if you don't have those policies and procedures in place. Just knowing, okay, I know what to ask. I know what needs to be filled out. That there's just, it does certainly help. Okay, go for it.
I remembered.
Okay.
So, even like looking back for me, because this is part of it, is like learn from our mistakes, like in the beginning, with a lot of the overwhelm and like a couple of years into it for both of us, like it was really rocky. Like you think that the first year is going to be hard, but there's like some kind of like excitement and momentum, and you're like expecting that first year to be hard. Right. So like the hard doesn't feel quite so burdensome. But then you get into like year 2 and 3, and it's really, I would be interested to see what the burnout rate is of any new business owner, like 2 and 3 years into it, because like you're deep enough into it that you don't want to quit. Right. You've got too much invested, and you can kind of see like the goals progressing, and you want to get to the other side of it. So you're going to still push through, but you're at that point where you're still wearing all the hats, right, and you're carrying all this weight. And it's a lot. And so like thinking back, especially now that I have a couple of years outside of being a ABA business owner, I think that it would have made that load a little bit easier, even in the beginning, if some of this stuff was already like taken care of, or already had a good idea of it. I had a packet. I had had this information, had the documents, had a good start. Yes. Because then like that would be energy that I hadn't wasted. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
when I tell people about our products, like the thing that I mention quite often, and this is 100% true, I made these things for Steven 12 years ago, right? Like these are the things that I wish so badly that I would have had when we started, right? Like how many times were we like sitting there like, there's got to be somebody that knows what to do, right? There has to be somebody that we can call up and just hire them and say, tell us what we need, because we don't know and we just want to do this right. So like that if you're feeling that way, that's why we started this, was because we just like, you just want to help kids, right? Like that, like, I just want to help. That's it. And so like, and I don't care about the paperwork. Like, I mean, right? You don't. And like, you just want to help kids. So that's kind of why we do what we do.
And let's be real. I mean, our field has enough paperwork as it is already, right? Yeah. I mean, we're already deep into paperwork. And so, adding more onto that. Luckily, Steven was business minded enough and curious enough, and already had the background of like operational like processes and all that kind of stuff already, that you had some previous knowledge coming into it. Okay. And you were asking me a lot of questions about like documentation and things like that. And we were working from a state that didn't have insurance mandates yet. And we were doing a lot of private pay. And so it was just kind of, there was some like freedom there. Right. But I remember getting really like irritated with Steven and getting frustrated because like, what do you mean? Like, no, we already have all this stuff. This is all we need. But sure enough, he was on the right trail, like on the right track of because not long after that, we had no choice but to start some of, some of that.
And it's just so like, again, hopefully you never have to use the vast majority of these policies, right? Like hopefully you never have to use a breach response, right? Hopefully you never have like a client complaint, but you need to know that you can handle it. And the last thing you want to do, very similar to an attorney, right? Like you want to have these things in place before the thing happens. You don't want to be putting out another fire, and like it can turn into that very quickly where you are a fire person, right? Like that's all you do. You come in for 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all you do is you just put out fires all day, and that can feel quite rewarding, right? It can feel quite addictive, right? But eventually you can't do it anymore. And again, some people can do that for 2 years. Some people can do that for 8 months, but everybody has their limit, and you have to put these things in place. Before you get to that point.
Sorry. So what documents do I need to start?
A whole lot. So the ones that we absolutely recommend, and when I talk to people, I would never start another ABA practice without these 4 handbooks. So it's the client handbook that we sell, the employee handbook, the company policy manual, and the HIPAA policy manuals. All of those templates come with state regs as well. So it doesn't matter what state you're in. You can modify these templates to meet your state regs, and they come with free updates. about 1,000, probably over 1,000 now. I don't even know. But there's about 1,000 ABA practices all over the country that use these, and we give free updates. So you're like, I think we've said this in another podcast, but like you're probably, if you purchase these handbooks, you're part of probably the largest ABA business experiment in the country, right? It's just like collaboration all over the place. Like we get feedback from a company, this crazy thing happens, Stephen, or I'm doing things a little differently. There's this regulation I need to follow. We can then take that information, make that new policy, and then we distribute it to everybody, right? So you're not just taking our word for it anymore. You're getting feedback from 1,000 ABA practices, which is amazing, and that we can do that. So those are the 4 handbooks that I would highly recommend you getting before starting seeing clients, before hiring staff, having those in place.
So don't start without documents.
Don't start without documents.
All right, so that leaves us to our next thing.
And I want to jump into number 7 first.
Okay,
if you're
sure.
okay with that.
That's
we'll
fine.
End with this one.
Yeah. So Stephen.
So group NPI.
So don't do what?
Don't start with an individual NPI. Many people do that. I see this quite often in the Facebook groups, and I hear potential customers come to me with this. I'm not hiring staff. I'm not doing that. I'm just going to do an individual NPI and that's it. Don't do it. So get a group NPI. It doesn't matter if you're going to do it by yourself. I will tell you the vast majority of the time. So like I'm going to say 95% of the time when someone tells me they're never going to hire staff, within 6 months, they're emailing me or calling me, or we're on a Teams chat, Teams meeting saying, I'm hiring a BCBA. Like, so, if you have an individual NPI, you can't do that. So you're going to have to start credentialing over again. So I highly recommend getting a group NPI.
So I just want to reiterate this. Yep. So I am a BCBA. I'm starting my own company. Mm-hmm. I do as a single provider NPI. Yep. Even though you told me probably shouldn't, I still did because I was certain.
Yep.
But here I am down the road, and I've decided to hire people, and I want to switch. What does that mean for me?
I mean, you're re-credentialing, right? And so if you've done any right negotiating on your individual NPI, you're probably going to lose that. They may not honor those rates. And then the other big thing that I've seen, I've witnessed both of these. The rate negotiation is super important, but I've also seen it where they go back and say, okay, you're right, I needed a group. And then they go back to those very same funders and they say, oh, we're closed. And then you're like, oh my goodness. So you can't even start your group because the network is closed. And I've seen both of those happen multiple times. So,
well, can the other BCBAs just bill under you?
No, get a group. So like, again, and then the last reason why you would want a group versus an individual, it's going to be way easier to sell it. And again, have an exit strategy when you start. And like this list could be 25 things, right? Like we'll
probably have or don't do that podcast coming up.
Could be there's so many things. So like, you need an exit strategy when you start. So it's not, and so you're going to want to sell this eventually. And so it's so much easier to sell it with a group NPI and not having your individual NPI attached to it. So again, highly recommend doing a group. Even if you never hire another person, that's okay. You can still have a group. It takes about 48 hours and it's free to get a group NPI, a type 2 NPI. I would highly recommend doing that. So
last thing for today. So don't start without core values and mission statement. This is another thing that we've talked about a lot, right? Yeah. But, it guides your company culture and aids in decision making.
Yes.
Not only should you not start without your company's core values and mission statement, but you should evaluate them at minimum on a yearly basis and update them as things change.
Yeah.
In fact, we're in the process of doing that now for 3 Pi Squared. Yeah. As you are how many years old is this company now?
I think it's 7.
7? Yeah. And things have evolved and changed, and we wanted to evaluate looking back at some of our previous values and trying to make decisions, and things were feeling not quite so clear. And so, we've been looking at, like we've set some new values. Some are still the same, some are a little more clarified, and it's really amazing how intentional you can stay as a business owner and leader within your company, clinically, business wise, supervising others, just being the leader of your company and like the person that sets the tone for the whole place, right? But no, having the values really helps for you to also hire the right staff, you know? And it really create that environment that led you to want to start your own place in the first place.
When you know your values, you know what you don't want, right? And so especially on the staff side of things, that can make things a lot easier. But the big thing for me is knowing your values. Things are going to get hard. Things are going to get hard. You're going to have some sleepless nights. I can almost guarantee it. You're going to have some days where you're like, why did I ever decide to do this? And having those values to go back to is going to make it easier to go like, okay, this is why I was doing it, right? This is why I'm doing this, because of these reasons. And that will help you get through those hard times. You can kind of, fall back on those. It can make it very helpful. And then when you are stuck and you're like, I don't know what to do with this situation, you can, again, lean on those core values. And hopefully it will be easier to make a hard decision. So I wouldn't start another company, let alone an ABA practice, without having those core values and then embedding those into your daily activities as much as you can.
Absolutely. Back you up 100%.
Awesome.
All right. So that's our episode for today. If you have any questions or you want to book a free consult with us to go over anything, just go on
www.3pysquared.com. And please like and subscribe, share if you find this helpful.
Just helps others.
It helps others.
Like you to find us.
Yeah, but it helps us. And that's important to me. So please help me. And that's it. Thank you for listening. Hopefully it was helpful, and we'll see you next time.